It is halftime, one of the only games worth watching on week 18 of this NFL season. Raiders, Chargers, win in your in situation here on 2 News Oklahoma. CAYDEN McFarland here, Christy Maria there, doing this thing by Zoom for various reasons. You can probably guess in this age of COVID. Chris, neither one of us have. No, don't worry.
We're okay.
Chris, good to see you. Welcome in. I guess let's dive right in. We're sponsored by the Tulsa Oilers, of course, and our Oilers had 8,400 plus in attendance last night for Autism Awareness Night. They beat the Red Army, the Allen Americans. Really fine win. Da Silva, guy they've just brought in with a couple of goals. So our Oilers are starting to roll. Hopefully getting another win today.
He got his first goal of his career this week, and then he goes in last night and does that. I mean, this kid, all the young guns are fantastic on this team, but Da Silva has really found his form. It looks like he could be a special talent for this team. I'm really liking what this team's looking like. We got 9 games coming up, 7 of them at home. Love to see that.
Love it. Look, Rob Murray is such a fine coach at this level, and he finds talent. They have had so many obstacles because of COVID and the college seasons that were cut short and everything else. Recruiting players has been tricky, but he continues to find a way to bring in talent. The Oilers put a team on the ice that is worth checking out. So make sure you get out there. As Chris said, several games coming up here the rest of the way in the month of January. Chris, we have many things to talk about. Let's just start at the top. I mean, the big news this week, Caleb Williams officially putting his name in the transfer portal, reportedly visiting Los Angeles and USC, maybe UCLA as well this weekend. My guess is he probably does end up at USC. OU immediately moves on Dillon Gabriel. The UCF quarterback lost to Tulsa twice, but didn't lose many other games there as a member of the Golden Knights. Had signed on initially, not officially, with UCLA, had not enrolled at school, and now he's already on his way to Norman. So a pretty fantastic plan B. Just what do you make of this whole crazy week? You're losing maybe the best playmaker college football is going to have in 2022, likely in Caleb Williams. He could still decide, I suppose, have a change of heart and come back to OU. You're likely losing him, but you bring in a kid in Dillon Gabriel who can throw darts. And just what do you think of the quarterback situation at OU and where Caleb may be off to next?
Well, what I think is really interesting, and I think what OU fans should focus on most, is the fact that Dillon Gabriel is going to be throwing passes for Jeff Levy once again. Last time that happened, they had the second best offense in the nation. And I can't name any of the receivers that they had. They're not going to have the playmakers that they had at OU. And they were slinging the ball second best in the country, 8th best passing in the nation. I think that's what OU fans should center on, because I think Caleb Williams, as much as you want him to stay and as dynamic and fantastic of a playmaker as he is, those Hawaii kids can play quarterback really well. And Dillon Gabriel has shown that he can run the ball well, that he can throw outside the pocket, that he can throw the deep ball well. He's not going to have the credit. He's not going to have the big name that Caleb Williams is going to have. But can he get the job done under Jeff Levy, under Brent Venables? Absolutely. And you might have to part with what you are sure of, what you know you have in Caleb Williams to be able to reap the benefits of Dillon Gabriel. But I think the most important thing here is you are getting a signal caller that is familiar with the offense. When everything else is brand new in the coaching staff, you have the most important position on the field that knows exactly what's going on from day one. That is unspeakably important, especially when you have all these wide receivers leaving, when you have running backs leaving for various reasons, when you have all these skill positions heading out. The guy that is managing the entire field on the offense is on the same page as the guy who's in the booth. You know what? I think they did the best of what they could do.
Yeah, no question. Those are some great points. You know, I've seen Dillon Gabriel play quite a bit. The thing he does, he loves to take deep shots, and he's really, really good at it. And we have seen whatever you want to call this offense that Jeff Levy runs. Let's call it the Art Briles offense as opposed to the veer and shoot or whatever else, other names that haven't taken off yet. You know, we've seen Philip Montgomery run this thing here at TU for several years. And the thing he hasn't been able to do, that he was able to do at Baylor, is find a quarterback who's got that knack for the deep ball. And when you don't have it, nothing about that offense runs in quite the same way. It's an offense that wants to run the ball, and then it wants to score on just about every play when it's taking shots in the passing game. And Gabriel runs it about as well as anybody. When you just begin to think about the kind of skill talent that OU always recruits, Now you put it in this offense, the offense that Levy was running at Ole Miss, what we saw Art Briles running at Baylor, and you put Gabriel back there with his accuracy. If you can keep him healthy, that is a handful for just about every Big 12 defense out there. And everything you said about how well he fits the system, how well he knows the system, I think that's exactly right. He's a plan B, but he's the kind of plan B that OU fans certainly can be very excited about, should be very excited about. That said, if I was a Sooners fan, man, I would have a hard time letting go of Caleb Williams, especially, I mean, what we saw in the Alamo Bowl, which might have been some of the best ball we saw him play. He's just such an incredibly natural playmaker. He is so strong and elusive back there. It is so difficult to get your hands on him and sack the guy. But then he's got this knack for making plays, not only with his legs, but obviously with his arm, can make all kinds of different throws. I think showed the deep ball maybe better in that Alamo Bowl than he had all season long. And so he's going to be a star. And gosh, I hate to see him head west and join Lincoln Riley and USC. As a Notre Dame fan, I really hate to see that. Are there any guardrails that make sense in your mind? Anything you'd like to see done with regard to either the transfer portal or NIL going forward? Now that we've gotten a taste of this and we've seen just how crazy it makes things, is there anything you'd like to see implemented?
To be honest, I think the toothpaste is out of the tube at this point. Yeah. I think anything that you see done, people with a lot of money, like those boosters at Texas A&M, are going to figure out how to do and figure out how to get money over legally to the players that they want. Any guardrail that I have thought of, and I've thought of a few, you don't have private entities or nonprofits, or you don't have certain outlets that are paying these guys, that they have to be public entities creating a service like a car dealership or something. Yeah. Rich people are going to line the pockets of whoever they want to be able to funnel it to that person. So there's anything that I can say or do to put in place, there's going to be a person much smarter than me, who has a lot more money than me, who wants someone to come to their school and play football at their school to figure out a way around it. I think we realized this was a reality when NIL started. I think we realized that this was going to be something that could definitely happen. And there are a lot of people with a lot of money who care way too much about college football at their schools, and they want these playmakers and these big names to come to their schools. So honestly, every guardrail that I can think of, again, I'm going to say it, the toothpaste is out of the tube. You can't put it back at this point. You're going to have these articles about how millions of dollars are going to be funneled over 4 years in payment plans to these kids so that they don't get all the money at once and then skip town. So it's a very interesting day and age, and honestly, I think we're going to have to live through chaos for a couple of years. So yeah, I think the only guardrail can be, how much can you pay someone? And then next thing you know is, all right, well, you're telling me how much college kids are worth. And that's not in the spirit of the NIL. So I don't know.
It would have to be collectively bargained, right? If you're talking about it would have to, I think, be collectively bargained. And now, it's a union, and it's just outside of the world that it's always been in. And so once you cross this threshold, you mentioned chaos in college football. I mean, they have been bedfellows for years and years. It's just a different kind of chaos than what we were used to. This sport is in an interesting place. It's not all bad. A lot of it's really good, but this sport is in an interesting place. The ground is just shaking beneath our feet in a way that is remarkable. All right, Alabama, Georgia, the national championship game tomorrow. Who you got?
Bama. Bama is an underdog. They don't they don't win by less than 17 points when they're an underdog. Yep. The line's moved to 2.5 last I saw. And I think it's funny because the national championship game, you don't really see the line move too much because Vegas sets it and forgets it, basically. The fact that it's moved shows me that there's a lot of confidence in Alabama to figure this thing out. Look, Alabama embarrassed Cincinnati. Georgia embarrassed Michigan. This was always going to be an Alabama-Georgia rematch. Like, they're the two best teams in the nation, and there's about 50 layers of air beneath them, and then there's everybody else. What Alabama did to Georgia last time out, I don't think is going away. I really don't think it is. And are they going to win by 17? Maybe not. But I have a hard time believing that Alabama looks at that line, says we're underdogs, and does nothing with it. Again, especially after seeing, hey, we were underdogs last time against Georgia. We went out, we swept the floor with them. And we're still underdogs coming back in. Yeah. I think the underdog, especially as a Philadelphia fan, I think the underdog mentality is a powerful thing. I think Alabama has an incredible offense. I think that they have a top 10 defense in the nation. Obviously, Georgia's going to win on paper on the defensive battle, but I don't think Georgia's offense is going to light up Alabama the way they lit up Michigan. And I think if Georgia's offense shows up, it'll be a really fun game. I mean, you look at a few years ago. You're going to laugh at this. I heard someone say the 2018 national championship between Georgia and Alabama was the greatest college football game ever played. And I started dying. I wouldn't even put it in my top 25, to be honest. But
it's a great finish.
It was a great.
I try and rewatch that. A lot of it was awful. Yeah, that's
a lot of it was terrible. But anyway, so I think we're in for a great game. I think we're in for a fantastic game. I think Alabama's got it. I think I can't. I mean, I just don't pick against Alabama in national championship games. It's like picking against Tom Brady in the playoffs. You don't do it. So I really like Alabama in the spot. I think they figured it out. All the issues they had against Texas A&M and weaker teams, Auburn, like all the weaker teams this season, I think they figured it out. And I think Nick Saban just doesn't lose in the playoffs. It's hard to pick against it.
No Mechie at receiver for Alabama. I think they're down an offensive lineman from the SEC championship game as well. I do think Georgia probably has the better roster overall.
Yes.
A little more talent, a little more veteran. I would be inclined to go with the roster I thought had a little more talent in a matchup where they lost the first time. You know, to beat them twice is tricky. But how can I pick against, one, Nick Saban, the better coach, two, the better quarterback? Alabama's got the better quarterback in this matchup. And, you know, as nice a story as Bennett is and as good as he was against Michigan, I love that he, is going with the flip phone instead of the smartphone and everything else. And as much as I'd love to see Georgia win this thing, and I think it'd be good for college football generally, I can't pick against Alabama. I can't. I would like to. There are, I guess, if we come to the end of this and Georgia's played the better game and they win this thing, I certainly won't be shocked.
No.
But give me the Heisman winner, give me Nick Saban, and a team that really is great in these spots. They've been here and done this, and they kind of live for this, if you will. Never intimidated by this moment. And, do I expect them to score, was it 41 points? Do I expect them to do that again? No. But I think they can score enough, and because they are the more explosive offense, even against Michigan, one of those touchdowns was a halfback pass, right? There are just things that Michigan couldn't take away that I feel like Alabama will. I don't see Georgia getting to 30 points on this Alabama defense. Yeah. Maybe close, but I feel like they're in the 20s somewhere, and I don't know if I don't think that's enough to beat Alabama, even if you've got Georgia's defense.
The line is somewhere around 52, Alabama, by the way. The line is somewhere around. The line is the over/under rather is somewhere around 52. That's what they're expecting. So I think you're right on the mark with that.
They're expecting a lower scoring game this time around too. Chris, thank you so much. We'll be doing this again next week. I think next week we're at the BOK Center with the Oilers, and we'll be breaking down the NFL playoffs as well. As this is the final week of the NFL regular season. It's about to get fun with the Chiefs and Cowboys right in the middle of this thing. So our two local teams. Your Eagles right in the middle of this thing. Holy smokes, that was awful last night watching the Eagles' second team.
It was our friend Sam Walker, who does the Sky Cam, was there, and he called it a scrimmage, like a preseason scrimmage. Yeah. It's basically what it was, man. I was dialed out watching that. I'm not gonna lie. It's terrible. I
like your Christmas lights, buddy. New place looking good. All right.
It's still festive here. It's always Christmas.
Christy Maria, Kate McFarland. That's it for the rant. See you guys.